If I would ask any of you to start designing a mobile app and then nobody has ever held a phone in their hands, I'm not sure that you're gonna come up with something good enough. You can learn about the user experience, improve from it, innovate, and just save time and work. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Put on the headset if you have and start thinking differently. And one way of doing it is start building in 3D, and Shift6R provide like a very powerful tool set to do that. A very important thing is you will find a lot of information, context that is going to tell you how designing for XR is different, what can you do, how it's important to think about the different spaces, the different distances that are within from the user, about how interactions are different, and all that. So I thought of doing something different and instead start talking about design, the design process. And I put XR in kind of like hidden, because at the end, I believe that this is really what should drive any design process, but in this case, with a bit of a twist on XR, let's say. And the important thing is like how you can actually win this thing and having fun. At least that's my take. I'm not sure that following this, you are going to win, but certainly I think it's going to change the way about you think about things. So let me start by saying that how does this XR design process work? So first of all, you need to find your mate with your team. We decide, okay, what are we going to build? And you will have some hypotheses, some initial ideas. What is this? What is the scope of this project? Are we going for the new interactions category? Are we going for the AI category? Are we going for games? Are we going for instead skills? You will have an initial idea of what this is about, and I'm going to talk about. After that, and there is probably a very important thing is about what's next. So how do you research? How do you see what are people doing around you? Right? Maybe people that have built other XR apps, maybe other 2D apps. So after that, we will look at how to start with ideating and with low fidelity prototyping. That is one thing that we will cover, and I will discuss a little bit, giving some example, wearing the headset that I have here, fully loaded, Shift6R, fully loaded, and we can discuss, and I can show you some tangible example. Then we will have the team review. So how can you start sharing? How can you reviewing these things that you have built? And finally, ideally, we'll move towards that with a high fidelity prototyping. But let's start with the scope. So what does it mean to narrow down the scope? So this is dependent on the challenge that you're facing, right? And sometimes if you're thinking, oh, we're looking at a productivity app, right? Okay, do we need to look at productivity app? Maybe we don't. Right. So it is important to define what is the challenges that you're facing. And if it's, for example, about thinking about Airbnb of the future, right? This was something that Winston brought up the other day. So the idea is from how do we build this Airbnb of the future? Well, one thing that maybe you want to do is to show different locations, different spaces. So you might think of, okay, maybe we need to look for a traveling app. Right? What are the apps that bring people to places? And then you might think about Google Earth. You might think about Bring Traveler. You might think about others, right? So it is important, for example, or here I said, okay, we want to build something around fitness or about skills. Okay, great. Then what are the elements within this app that we might want to research or dissect? Maybe it is about how the final score is shown. Well, then at that point, we don't need necessarily a fitness app. It could be a puzzle game that also shows the star level of how you did for that game. So, and there are many examples here, but I just wanted to emphasize the fact, make a very clear statement about what you're going to research, what is the initial idea, and what should come out of this initial research, right? Wandering around and looking at what other people are making. Number one. And next step would be, and why is this so important, right? Because you can learn about the user experience, improve from it, innovate, and find other way in which the user can interact or can immerse in a determined space, or at the end, just save time and work, because you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. So this is a very important aspect, and let's try to think about this. So you are going to design something, going to compete in these different categories. And the important thing is try to find the right balance between innovation, right? Something that is new, something that feels fresh, but something that is not completely crazy, right? Because it has to be something that is achievable, that is grounded, and there is no other way of building something that is grounded than actually learning and experience what is possible today. Let's think about this. So it's not, you need to understand what is available on the market today. What are the limitations, and build around those technical constraints and try to innovate upon what is already available right now. So this is a very important thing. And you can do this, I believe, only by experiencing this firsthand. So it means that only if you're gonna wear a headset, and this is something that is my personal opinion, it's like if I would ask any of you to start designing a mobile app and then nobody has ever held a phone in their hands. I'm not sure that you're gonna come up with something good enough, right? And also because the people that are gonna judge this contest are people that have been in the field for years. Right? So they have certain expectations, they adhere to certain standards, and that doesn't mean that you don't have room to innovate. You have plenty of room to innovate, and that has to do with the beauty of being a design challenge. But let's think, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but it's important to find that right balance between innovation and something that is technically possible. So what are the things that you need to look into these experiences? Well, you need to look at, when we look at the specific design, it's like how the position and the scale of the UI is. Maybe does it fit within the field of view? How do the user navigate in the 3D space? How there are some object interaction, how to measure user attention. So these are all things that are important that you should look into when analyzing, when looking at other apps, how they are tackling certain design challenges that are typical of XR that have to do with the 3D space. And that's why, again, I think that it's certainly place to build and innovate on 2D UIs and bring some of those elements in the 3D space. But then what is the added value of being in 3D? That is only something that you can learn and build upon if you are experiencing this in a headset. Where do you find these other apps? Now, everybody knows the Meta Store. That is great. There is a lot of stuff there. Maybe not everybody in this call knows about SideQuest. SideQuest is another place where you can find different kind of apps. And, honestly, the advantage of there is that they are easier to filter, they are easier to search. So if you're looking for other apps, you might as well check SideQuest. Now, another place is DevPost. DevPost is the platform that we will use for this competition, but it has also a database of many other hackathon, XR Hackathon, the MIT Reality Hack, that come from where there are a lot of other projects. And in there, you will be able to see what were the winners, what were some good designs. Now, I want to be quick about this. This is a list when there are VR trainings, but this is something that I haven't shared with many folks yet. So this is a massive list that I have built with over 400 mixed reality apps for Quest. These are all, and I mean all the mixed reality apps that are available right now for Quest. And each one has, and I've created also like a gallery view of it. And you can also start filtering these apps. It's taking a while because it's like 400. But in it, there is also, you can get rating for the app, and you can get also the number of reviews. So you can kind of like use and review this and filter. So let me see if this is being loaded. No, it's not loading, but it's no problem. So this is a list, and I've personally built this one. I think it's super valuable. Yeah, here we go. This is a list with, indeed, as I was saying, 400 mixed reality apps. There is the rating. You can go there and find the link and explore it yourself to find what you're actually looking for. I've built this list. You can go here. If you like this kind of stuff, and if you like also the intersection between XR and AI, you should absolutely check out the newsletter after. But this is something that I share only with who subscribe. But for you guys, you can go there. I'm going to share the link afterward. Okay, so this is a great place to do your research. So we are going to look a bit at ideation and low fidelity prototyping, and that's where I want to tell you a little bit about shapes. So when we think about the people that are involved and why we build ShapesXR, right? So because creating 3D on a 2D screen is actually very tricky, as we will see later. There are also a lot of developers, and they didn't take properly into account the designer's work, your input, very often. And it's also very hard to pitch, right? It's very hard to show and explain what is your idea. But why we have built Shapes? Because indeed we want to empower designers. We want to make sure that whatever is your handover to a developer is actually clear. There is no room for misunderstanding. And also, of course, because you can more effectively pitch and share your ideas with other people that are not involved in the project. For example, a judge. And by the way, blessing, you are properly sorted. You have a Quest Pro. You are blessed. Yeah, check this out. Now, ShapesXR is very good because it is accessible and quick, because you can create very quickly, as I'm going to show you very shortly. It is collaborative. You can build interactive prototype, and it fully works in mixed reality, and it's pretty mind-blowing. So what is ShapesXR is used by studios and enterprises. So this means that there are companies like FeedXR, Nanome, Trip, so startup size that are leveraging Shapes for design, but also big corporates like, for example, Meta, Microsoft, Accenture, Orange. So they are using Shapes to design and prototype their immersive experiences. And by the way, this is not our words. These are indeed designers, principal designer at Microsoft. We were discussing the project back and forth for 30 days with no progress, but then it took us only 30 minutes to come to a decision. So make whatever you want. I think it's really important of thinking how this could also empower and accelerate your own flow. Now, that's not just about that, but for example, Meta themselves, they have got pitches about game idea, that were actually done in ShapesXR. So they were shared with them, and they could indeed understand what was the game idea behind, what was the fun that the developers, the creators were trying to capture, and then do this just using a ShapesXR prototype. So let's now go, and now I'm going to wear the headset and show you a couple of things that you can do in Shapes and how this works with the web editor. Let me start from there, so that because there were a couple of questions of people. Okay, so this is ShapesXR. Once you can go in, create a new account, and then starting creating a new space. Your will be empty, but you can create a new space, and then you will be here. So in this web panel is where, for example, you can also add your own files, because you can import 3D models, you can import PNG, even Figma prototypes, something I'm going to share with you very shortly. Okay, so you are in a space, you have created a new space via the button there, and then you can do open the editor. So let's say that this is, let's say, a familiar web editor. You have a bunch of assets, primitives, and shapes that you can kind of like pop inside the scene, and you see it's pretty, let's say, familiar. You can change things, but you can also import your own assets. So for example, let's say that I want to add maybe a PNG. So I'm now adding this PNG from my file. I get it in the scenes, and here we have it. I've got a PNG. And I can move it and position it around, scale it, and so on. Now, this is valid also, for example, for other 3D assets. For example, I can add this one. Okay, so how do you find, before, I think it's an important one, how do you find 3D assets? So I think many people know websites like Sketchfab. That's a very popular one. You can get stuff there. One that people usually do not know is, for example, poly.pizza. It is super powerful website. It has a lot of 3D models that are low poly, so are perfect with VR. They even have these packs that you can just dump into Shapes and start using and creating. So it is incredible, and you can just search and find stuff in there, right? So two that are great are poly.pizza, or otherwise you can use Sketchfab. But of course, there is AI nowadays. So Turbo Squid, of course, Luis, thanks for sharing. But there is also AI. So you can use a tool like Meshi, where you can type, get your own model, and just start creating that. So poly.pizza, it's pretty good. I think you're going to like it. Now I'm adding, for example, a 3D object. This is a mug. Now, the problem with this mug is that it is actually huge. Whip. And now we'll make it smaller. This has to do with the way the asset was created in the first place, right? So it's nobody's fault. It's there. And now we are here. Now, and then you can start creating. Now, with people that are, for example, also in VR. Now, that's what we are going to do right now. So I'm going to put on the headset, and then I'm going to jump in Shapes XR. Okay, so now you are here. You see my screen casting. So one thing is, how do I get started? So in here, you can go right here and then go and follow the tutorial. So see what's new. You're going to have all the tutorials that you can follow, and as well as go to samples and experience and explore different spaces that have been built using Shapes XR. Okay. So, the things that you need to know are, for example, some of the things I'm sharing, like how to import assets, and then some of the things that I'm going to share with you right now. So let's imagine now I go to that space that I've just created. And now here, what is actually pretty mind-blowing, let's see if this works. Right. Okay. I think that you will see me. Hello, hello. So here I am. You see that on the left, there should be me waving. And on the right, there is my first person view, right? So in this case, let me share maybe like this in full screen. I am now the VR editor in there. And while moving things in real time, you will see it happening on the web. Similarly, if stuff gets moved in real time from the web editor, I would see it in VR. So we are collaborating in real time together. Okay. So let me go back to my first person and just that so that you understand and I can show you something. So in Shapes, you get the ability to import assets. So, and start creating. So for example, let's imagine that I want to have some primitives and maybe I have some, let's say I can bring them in. If I want to, for example, create something like maybe like a button, I can, for example, use some of the procedural primitives. Let's say that I want this. I can select this object, and then there are different parameters that you can use to make this into a button. So let's say, hey, maybe I like this one, change the aspect ratio, and maybe, hey, I like this button like this. That's it. You can change also materials, of course, make it of a different color. And there you go. Right. You do have also a set of tools. For example, you can draw. And when you draw, you can just draw. And let's say that we have something like this. Maybe there we have this mug that is brought up on this beautiful balloon. Right. Okay. So what I was telling you, and of course you can, as you see, import your own assets, create using the shapes and primitives that are here available. And then we also have like a big library. So with props, we have also pre-made environment, architecture, prototyping, arrows, and let's not forget icons that you can use per category. So if you have nature, if you have layouts or whatever, so you have here really like a lot of building blocks. Plus, of course, you can import your own. So let's say one thing that I wanted to quickly share was this example about the storytelling. So let's imagine, for example, that I would like to, when this button is pushed, I would like this balloon to flow up in the air. So how do you do that? So what you can do is that you can create a duplicate of this space, of this scene. And then you can say, okay, now this thing is going up. Right. And then I can create another duplicate. Oops. Here. And it says, okay, then this goes up again. And then I'm going to do this again. This thing goes up again. Okay. So what happened here effectively is that you have created this simple, very simple storyboard. You say 1, 2, 3, right? And let's say that at this point, maybe I want to make another duplicate and say, okay, at some point the balloon will pop. And then this thing will fall down. And maybe there is like a bit of, okay. So we have built this little story, right? And we are saying, okay, now we have this moves up and then will pop and then will fall down. Now, what happens is that this is already like one of the examples. So some of the things that you can build, and I'm going to show you how to, the other added value is that this can all be made interactive. Okay. What does that mean? So let me show you very quickly. You can go for the prototyping tab here, and you can say an interaction, and you can say on click, you can go to a scene, and you will go to the next scene. So what is the object that needs to be clicked is this button. And then you will go to scene number 2. So what happens now? And if I go here, wait, let me just get the viewpoints here in front so that, okay. So you see now, if I click, you see that the highlights, and this will go up. Perfect. But then it's not enough because I want then this to go higher, right? So at this point, I want to add another interaction, and I can say, hey, after delay, go to the next scene. Maybe I want the delay to be 0.2. Accept. Done. Now I'm going to do the same. Add interaction. After delay, scene. Done. Next, add interaction. After delay. Bear with me. Bear with me. I'm almost done. Scene. Done. Add interaction. After delay. Where was it? Scene. Done. Last one. Add interaction. After delay. Scene. Now, if I'm here, what should happen? And we'll fall down. Now, there are a wide variety of interactions that you can use. For example, you can use specific buttons. So when you push a certain buttons and a certain stuff happen, you can use also hand interaction. You can use as well sounds. That is actually pretty mind blowing. So if I go here, I could add interaction. Let's say after delay sound, and then I can add my own sound. So sound file, click to set. I've got, I believe was this one that I just downloaded. Rewind, Walkman. Yeah, was this one. And now you will not be able to see it, but there is a pop sound. And then what will happen is that the sound will pop, and then I will hear it. So this means that if, for example, you want to simulate an AI interaction, you could actually do that. Right? You could actually have a voice that is an emulated voice that here and is specialized, that is positioned in different area that you can mock up. Now, there is just one thing that I want to share before I go back to the PC, and that is how to leave a hollow note. So in here, in the collaboration part, there is this space. There's no hollow note yet, but you can add one. You can put this head. We can move this, yeah. And let's say that I want this to be here, and I want to talk about these balloons popping. So this will be where the user will experience his hollow notes, and you can start recording. So you see me. So this is a fantastic prototype of a balloon tied to a mug. And when you will push the button, the balloon will go up. Have fun. That's it. There will be the hollow note that you can position in a space, and then you will be able to play. So this is a fantastic prototype of a balloon tied to a mug. When you will push the button, and trust me, this is going to have a huge difference when you're going to present your space, because you can have a narrative. You can explain different aspects of your design, why certain things are built in a way they were built. Maybe some examples, some variants that you have tested, right? So this is extremely powerful when you are building in VR. And by the way, I said that there would be one thing, but there is another one. And I'm sorry, because just there is so much to show. So much. So let's imagine. Now, the other thing is Figma interactive prototypes. What you can do right now is that you can import your Figma interactive prototypes in shapes. How do you do that? You can go here. This is an interactive prototype that I have. So you see start, you can do things, these things, scroll, whatever. Share prototype. Follow me here. You can copy this link. Then you can go in the shapes panel. You can go to my files. And then let's say that, I'm going to put it here. And then you can say import Figma prototype, go here and copy the link. Import. Great. Now we go back to where I was. That is here. I think here, my files. Okay. And we said it was inside the sound thing. I'm going to throw this away. We don't need it. We have this. And you've seen the UI. And here you go. So one thing you need to do is that you need to add an additive material to the UI. So this depends also how you have built it. Oh, wait, let me just check. Yeah. So this is like the interaction part, and you will be able to change this and correct it. And I'm going to get back to you with the exact setting that you need to use to import it. But you can have your own. Oh, by the way, and I forgot, all this works also in mixed reality. Yeah, the problem was this headset, guys. So sorry, I apologize. This was a headset in which I have problem. I don't know why. Yeah, something you should, it's my mistake. It's not yours. I want to check just one thing. All this works also in mixed reality. So if I'm here and I'm going to play this, and pops. So also for any of your mixed reality prototypes, you'll be able to play around and create in your environment.
Hello, you are watching a free video on our Examento series here on YouTube. We have 12 videos planned for this. We will upload them on a weekly basis, so 12 weeks. If you want to access all of them immediately and for free, then feel free to check out our Immersive Insiders platform. We have it linked above and in the description. You can also access to our community and all of that stuff, so there's a bunch of cool things going on. Feel free to check it out and enjoy the video.
This was an example from MIT Reality Hack. What is happening is that these two people are testing a game idea. So there is this box and the ball is moving inside it. But you see how Michael on the left is this character here. And instead, the woman here on the right is this character, right? And you see how you can quickly test and ideate. And this potentially, with a bit of visual refinement, could already be a design prototype, an idea for a game that you could share. There is one person that is wearing the headset that is actually playing and doing the puppeteering, like making up stuff, and then playing this mock-up game. This is like a very simple example of how you can start creating and prototyping in shapes. Another example is this one. So you can also attach UI to your own hand and controller. So in this case, you can, for example, try different menus and try different layouts. So you see it's trying below it, it's trying at the on the left. And then you can say, okay, well, how is this going to evolve and change? How do I test it? So this is an example. The UI is maybe on one case, the other UI is in another direction, or maybe it's of a different size. Maybe one it's easier to point and to manipulate. So again, this is all done directly in Shapes.XR without coding, just attaching UI to your controller and hands. Now, this is another example. Again, this uses, again, some interactions where you can actually point, trigger some interaction, and then trigger some special effect. And these are all touch-based. Again, all of this is prototype in Shapes. Right. So right? So these are just an example of some of the things that people have built. One thing is also the fact that whenever you work, you need to be mindful of what has to be the final outcome, right? So the final outcome is maybe like a video that you want to share, or a Shapes XR space, or a trailer for your project, right? So you need to be mindful of how to use the various tools that you have to make something that convey your design idea. And I am 100% sure that one of the tools that you're going to use is going to be, for example, After Effects. There is nothing wrong about it. Premiere, nothing wrong about it. It can be Figma. It can be you acting out. So I think that one of the things that you should be flexible and creative in the way you communicate this idea. And that's why I wanted to share this quick video that was created when the project, this was for a hackathon at the XRCC that last August, where the team at that point in time hasn't coded anything. Everything was about telling the story and showing with prototype built in Shapes XR how this was working. So let me show you.
Oh, nice. First plant? Yep. Don't forget, water it hard.
Let's face it, caring for plants is really boring, so we've asked ourselves, how do we disrupt houseplants industry? Introducing plants that can speak.
Look who finally decided to grace me with their presence.
Give your plants personality.
It's not like I need water or anything, right?
Interact with them.
If you're going to water me, at least make it interesting.
Give them some love, sometimes.
You think you could maybe remember to water me once in a while?
The more plants you have, the more drama you can experience.
I'm picking up some weird vibes from that new succulent you brought home last week.
Hey, I'm new. What's up?
Did you water your plants?
So this is the idea, is that with all this content that was built using just creativity and some of the assets that you can just download, this whole design idea basically came to life, right? So this is just an example, and there are more here that you can check. I just want to save a bit of minutes towards the end for some questions. So now, the other thing is we have discussed about ideation and creating some low fidelity prototyping. Ideation, what does it mean? I don't want to say, okay, this is how you do ideation. It's more like the ideation process is different, but it's about getting stuff in, for example, images, 3D models, and be able to quickly create this simple storyboard. Okay, this is an idea. This is an idea. And this thing can take you 1 hour, no longer. And that's the great thing. That's why I believe that there is a lot of power in coming up with ideas that are in 3D and share them with other people in 3D, right? So low fidelity prototyping means that you can start creating these simple interactions, or maybe like a little video of how this is going to look like, right? But how do you work together? How do you do, for example, review? How do you share it? So when I was here, I also wanted to all this is something that you can share a link, for example, and this link can be shared with anybody, right? You can embed it, for example, in a Notion document. You can copy the code and work with other people. And for example, let's say I was in that presentation again, and I want to go to this project here. That was another amazing project. I can go here, just a URL. I can experience it from here, or launch it directly in VR. So I can open in VR, or I can open the editor. So this is an example in which you, within Shapes XR, you can share and export what you have built. Of course, you can take images. But the other thing that you can do is that, for example, you can export as a GLTF, or you can export into Unity. So if, for example, you want to maybe do something with a camera movement that you wouldn't achieve, or you can, for example, keep working on that specific layout that you have built, this is something that you can do in exporting from Shapes and sharing this with your team. So this is another important aspect. Then we do have the high fidelity prototyping. Honestly, I want to share an example here. I don't know how many of you know Red Matter. it is actually an incredible game. But one of the things that is actually pretty cool, let me go 720 here, and I want to share. So this is the actual interaction in Red Matter 2. So you see, you go there, you grab it, and then you start. Right? That's basically it. So what I want to show you here now, when we're talking about high fidelity interaction or high fidelity prototype, is the journey of building this thing in a couple of minutes in shapes. So here again, I'm using some primitives that you have seen playing me around live, and then changing their shape, and creating from scratch those claws in 3D. You can easily change them. You can easily create duplicates. And then at this point, you have these claws, right? Created very briefly. Now, the other point is that you want to show, for example, how these claws are highlighted, because in this case, you see that there is let's say, an active state of the claw, and that's when the light are orange. So I wanted to use also give you the impression there was some light. So I used some of the built-in PNGs and images to simulate that and have the different states with those frames that you have seen what I was sharing. And so here you go. You have the different states. You have the inactive, active, and grab of the interactions. And then what you do is that you test it. So you can directly attach this whole thing to the controller. And then, well, after starting, you can test. In this case, by using the grip button, I say, yeah. So when I pushing the grip, I told you that there was this opportunity to attach interaction to different buttons. I push the grip, and now when that happens, I will be able to change that, and that's it. Now, when grabbing, you see that I'm actually able. When pushing the grab button, I'm actually doing that. Now, what I want to do is that when is that this is gonna trigger, right? And I have this kind of like bounding box that I used to simulate. And then having these highlights, and that's it. So now moving closer to the object, that's the moment that I get the highlight, right? And lastly, you see that basically I get I want to show how the object is grabbed. And by the way, this is how the final interaction, the interaction in the game looks like. You grab, you move the object, and then you put it down. Just to remind you. And then this is in Shapes XR, built in 1.5 hours. You go this, you grab, and that's it. And this is a mock-up, right? Again, there is no code. It's not something that is being coded. But then when it's about showing how a certain interaction, especially, for example, for new UI interfaces, everything can be built just in Shape. And even the judges can even experience it. And this, I think, it's quite mind-blowing. So think spatial. Put on the headset if you have, and start thinking differently. And one way of doing it is start building in 3D, and Shapes XR provide like a very powerful tool set to do that. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I'm not sure there are many times for questions, but I'll shut up now.
And there were some technical questions, like some of them were like, can you export it to Unity and Unreal?
Yes, you can export. There is a Unity plugin that we have available that allows you to export directly to Unity. To export to Unreal, you need to have, you can export as a GLTF.
Okay. And yeah, does Shapes work on Oculus Quest 1?
I think it does.
Yeah.
Even though we don't officially support it anymore, but I think it should still work.
Right. And can you simulate hand gesture controls in Shapes XR?
So we have the opportunity to add hand interactions, like, for example, touching, right? It is, but you don't have the whole flexibility like pinching. But to create some mock-up, this is something you can do. We also have in the interaction menu the ability to switch to hand gestures. So Shapes XR is best experience in a headset to experience all the creative power, but we do have the web editor. And for anybody that is tuning in at the end, you can go and open a space, open the editor. And by the way, this is exactly what I've built, guys, right? So ta, 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 ta. That's it. That's what I've built. And this is also what you will have in the editor. And if you want to change it and mess up with the work of the VR guy, you can say, haha, screw you. Now I've changed the mind. So you can still do that.
I think there's one more feature that I really like about Shapes is that you can collaborate from anywhere in the world. So you just need to share a room code, and then it's so powerful.
Yeah, and one thing that it's really real time. I've never seen anything where there is someone on the web and someone in VR that with close to no latency are able to still work together and share this actively. So I think it's pretty impressive. So some people say, can join the space editor, like could we showcase anyone at any time? Yes, if I now wear the headset, you will see me appearing there at real time. But it is true, the full interactivity doesn't work on web yet. This is our first iteration. It's going to get better. But yes.
So is there any specific Unity version required to export the content from Shapes XR to Unity?
So the best thing is go to our website, shapesxr.com, check the help section, and in there you will find the step-by-step guide of what you need, what version, because I cannot provide you the exact number.
Yeah. I think there's one more question about documentation. I think you'll easily find it online, so we can share the link on Discord later.
Yeah. One thing is that I didn't emphasize during this conversation was the ability to prototype in mixed reality. So it is actually incredible. If you're building a mixed reality prototype, there is, I think, no other way to do it than in Shapes. And you have a little headset on your controller. If you click, you are in mixed reality. You can even we have pass-through material to simulate like occlusion. You can add the boundaries of your room. You can have the room scale down. It's kind of like dollhouse mode, add assets and go back at real scale. It's mind-blowing. If it's mixed reality, you should try it.
Do we have an option to optimize the model we prototype?
So, I mean, everything you build in Shapes is rather simple and already optimized in terms of primitives and so on. So you don't need to worry about that. But indeed, if you then want to export it, then it's something that is up to you. Yeah, you can change the assets. And there was one important question is that, yes, can two people both in VR interact with the same scene together? Absolutely. So if you can just share the space code, and there could be up to, we do our meeting in Shapes and there are 10 people at the same time talking, creating, making a mess sometimes. But yes, you can totally be together, share, and especially during the ideation process, I absolutely recommend you because I mean, it's just incredible. When you're ideating, testing ideas, it's a very incredible experience.
Yeah, and I can tell it from my personal experience as well. Like we were there at a hackathon, and then first we did was we were in Shapes. We are trying to make a multiplayer game, and then we used it for prototyping and testing. It's so good.
So do we need an option? So if maybe as a close up, you can request for this special XRDC community license, and I think you can check in the Discord, and in there you can apply for it for a limited amount of time. You can have access to all the features you have seen and many more.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Yes, the recording will be there available after this. And Gabriel, thank you so much for taking your time off and giving us all this information and showing the demos. So thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have fun, enjoy, and best of luck.
All right, guys. See you. Bye-bye.